Okay, hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you're doing well. It's time for a great albums segment. I figure we have to because it's been a very fruitful 2024 albums wise so far. A lot of great records that I have loved and thought are fantastic one way or another. It's a bit of a flip of the usual script. I mean, 2023, for example, had a lot of heat in it, but not this early in the year. Meanwhile, here we are with 2024 and there's like 11 records that I'm head over heels for already, and we're only just now breaking into March. So will this run continue, or are we going to see a dry spot in the spring, the summer? I guess we'll see. Either way, it's been a lot of albums that I've loved quite a bit, and I figure that there's been so many that I should kind of reiterate my enjoyment of them here just to make sure you guys are not missing them, especially if it's an artist that you've maybe written off or don't watch as closely as others. So without any further ado, here we go. Great albums for the past 2 months in 2024. Starting off with this new one, What Now, from Brittany Howard of Alabama Shakes fame. Guitarist, songwriter, singer, especially singer Brittany Howard, comes through with a very creative solo LP, covering everything from vintage vocal pop to soul to house music to rock and everything in between. It's really a bold, multifaceted, beautiful, creative little journey she's been on here with this record. It's passionate, it's wild, it's out there. It's a tad bit psychedelic too, as she's really been improving by leaps and bounds on the production front with her own stuff as well. If you're looking for a singer-songwriter record that has a lot of kaleidoscopic variety to it and a lot of personality as well, give this one a shot. Moving on from there, I also very much enjoyed this new Cheekface album. It's sorted. The groovy, funny, silly, somewhat spoken word-esque indie rock and dance band Cheekface. They're back with another very short and to the point LP that, delivers Cheekface type songs in only the way Cheekface can. Look, I do genuinely think these guys are one of the most fun and interesting and hilarious groups out there today on the indie circuit. They are very much sticking to their guns on this new LP, and I can't really blame them. No band out there right now is doing it quite like Cheekface is, and that has not led to the biggest fan base of all time, but still a very passionate one. The band tries out a few new sounds and modes and vibes on this record, even one track that really goes in a cake direction. If anybody's been missing any of those funky 90s dork rock vibes. But yeah, it's a killer record. It's a fun record. Highly recommended. And I would also say that is the case, especially for the new Chelsea Wolfe album here. She's reaching all over the place. Where is Chelsea reaching? Down into the dark abyss on this album, which is why I think this is her best record since her album Abyss. Certainly one of her heaviest and most brooding releases yet, but she's drifting a bit away from a lot of the heavier metal aesthetics that she's been dabbling with on her past couple of records, and instead is giving us some dark ambient stuff, some dark wave stuff, trip hop beats too, a lot of forlorn tunes and lyrics on this record about a loss of love as well. I think it's one of Chelsea's most creative, despondent, and inspired releases yet. It's so dense, it's so well produced, it's so detailed, so emotionally potent as well, and absolute fire from front to back. This is most definitely going to be in my top 10 of the year. Also having strong feelings about the new Chisel album. These guys are a UK punk band doing UK style hardcore in only the way a group from that side of the pond could. Really bringing back classic British street punk and oi vibes with lots of rebellious, aggressive, working class lyrics, tons of angry and relatable songs about bloodsuckers, energy drainers, politicians, the fat cats. The band is just taking it to everyone on this record with huge gang choruses, chunky riffs, punchy drums, just incredible tight instrumentation, great tempos and speeds, along with a good chunk of the track list being allotted toward these more harmonious and anthemic songs as well that'll have you singing along instantaneously. So yes, absolutely, positively one of the most kick-ass punk records you're going to hear in 2024. I guarantee it. Also really enjoying for the first time in a long time this new record over here from Future Islands. One of the most consistent bands on the indie circuit in terms of their general style and sound. I mean, going into a Future Islands record, you kind of know what you're going to get. Those hooky song structures, the synth pop aesthetics, the dramatic production, of course, Sam Herring right there at the front with his almost theatrical, deep, growly, expressive lead vocals. And yeah, that's more or less what you typically get on a Future Islands album, but the sameness across their catalog in the past has kind of held me back from loving a lot of their work fully, along with there just not really being a whole lot of variety across the entirety of their records, along with maybe like a good handful of dud songs here and there too. But I gotta tell you, this new one, People Who Aren't There Anymore, this is like the most consistent the band has been songwriting wise on any album ever. The songs really truly are just fire writing from front to back, melodically and lyrically. There are a lot of very personal and consistent themes dealing with loved ones, people you have very deep connections with across the record as well. Not to mention that for whatever reason, the band has like really upped the ante on the production side with this record too. The drums are hitting in a way that they never have before. The synth patches and layers are just so much more vibrant and just gorgeous and lush and beautiful. Again, it's a Future Islands record. It's pretty much everything that you would expect, but there is just a better, higher gloss finish on the entire thing, improved writing, and it really shows. Moving on from there, I'm also really enjoying this new record from Grande Mahogany, As Grande As. Little known artist who is on the come up from Finland, who deals in a lot of psych rock aesthetics with a scuzzy, homespun, lo-fi twist, some touches of garage rock and hard rock in the mix there too. This guy is really kind of throwing it back to Jimi Hendrix, Sly and the Family Stone, but doing it in kind of a new beat heavy DIY, terminally online kind of way. If you're into the way artists like James Ferraro or Yves Tumor or Dean Blunt take a lot of old classic vintage pop and rock aesthetics and retool them for kind of weird internet age type of context, I think you're going to get something out of this record. But again, keep in mind that Grande Mahogany's reference points are, more in that kind of like psychedelic hard and garage rock era. Speaking of another band that kind of throws it back to a lot of psychedelic tropes, MGMT, Loss of Life, incredible album, one of the duo's best. Though I think it's very much a heady, cerebral, deeply emotional, slow burner kind of album that may grow on fans with time. There's not a whole lot of hype, not a whole lot of fanfare, not a whole lot of bangers on this record. The biggest and most hard-hitting single is Bubblegum Dog, and even that track, as I said in my review, is a bit moody. No, this album is really a deep and emotional reflection on love, on feeling lost in a grand, vast, unknowable world. It's very much about times changing, losing time, moving into new phases of your life, aging too. I will say the record's greatest shortcoming is that it doesn't really come to a whole lot of conclusions, and I don't hold it against the album entirely because, these are big questions and, issues and life stage based anxieties that are being reflected on this record. But, reflection is happening, and it's very good quality, profound reflection too. The duo takes some risks as well on tracks that are a bit more electronic and dancey, like Dancing in Babylon. There's quite a bit of hero worship on the record too, production-wise. A lot of nods toward bands like Flaming Lips, but still an excellent album from MGMT. Again, I think it's one of their best, and for sure is going to be one of the most beautiful listens that I or you, could have this year, even if it is, again, a little moody, bit of a mood piece of an album. Moving on from there, also very much full of mood is the new Quadeca project here, Scrapyard, which I just love this album to death. I think it's massively fun, creative, very well put together. Some of the most interesting genre blends and combinations that I've heard from any artist ever. Quadeca, aka Ben Lasky, has just grown by leaps and bounds artistically since his days as just kind of merely being known as a YouTube rapper. Now he's obviously, multi-instrumentalist, producer, singer, songwriter, and again, still in the context of this record, rapper. And now he's kind of like bringing together all of these, wild genre fusions between bedroom pop and emo and hip hop and, all sorts of different shades of indie and experimental music. And look, I know there are some fans who kind of favor Ben's last record. I know Ben even himself feels that record is superior, and I can see why he feels that way, because obviously that record, there is a really kind of big theme and concept and story to the whole thing. No such thread kind of guides the magic of Scrapyard per se. I feel like the majority of the songs on Scrapyard are just a lot more fun to listen to, a lot punchier, a lot catchier, a lot more instantaneous, more addictive. I find myself wanting to go back to this album more and more. And on top of it, I just find the variety of this album, the variety reflected in Ben's songwriting and the way he stylizes the instrumentation in his songs. I think he's really kind of gone above and beyond on this record, and he's like pushing the boundaries of what we know, rap music can be, what we know bedroom pop can be, what we know anything that is emo adjacent could be. That and everything else I mentioned in my review is what makes this record so stellar to me. That and a super consistent track list. Like, I would not have guessed the material on this thing is scraps or extras or, throwaways or whatever, had they not been labeled as such. And I'll leave it there. I'm loving the hell out of this thing. I'm also enjoying quite a bit this new album from the last dinner party, Prelude to Ecstasy. I mean, what a fire debut. This is maybe going to be the best debut of any rock or pop outfit this year. So many well-written, dramatic, incredible songs on this thing that are so regal and enchanting and glamorous and fantastical. Musically and lyrically, this thing is poetry. It's playful, it's refined, it's campy. I can't get enough of it. Just too many addictive songs on this LP that had me singing along instantly, loving the hell out of it. And with it being so good just off the bat, I'm excited to hear what the group is going to do in the future on a sophomore record. Moving on from there, frickin' The Smile. It's Tom York. It's Tom Skinner. It's Johnny Greenwood. The guys, they're back. Still off that Radiohead cycle. Still on the Smile cycle. And there's not a lot to say about this LP outside of that it is just really good quality songwriting and art rock and pop all around. In a lot of ways, the band improves upon many of the shortcomings of the last Smile record, and not necessarily in a way that you might expect. Because rather than diving further into the bangers, the more direct tracks, the more hard-hitting cuts off of that record, Tom York and Johnny and Skinner decided to expand instead on the lengthier, moodier, more abstract pieces from that record and vibes from that record, and just add more details, add more interesting progressions. Like the MGMT album earlier, this, I think, for a lot of people is really going to be kind of a mood record for 2024. But when you are down to listen to something that is a bit darker, a bit more brooding, more spacey, more impressionist, give this thing a listen, because it's absolutely gorgeous from front to back. Moving on from there, Yeat, 2093. Dude is absolutely positively expanding the boundaries of rage and psychedelic trap, psychedelic hip hop broadly at the moment with this record. Man has taken on production duties, more production duties with this record. He's experimenting more vocally and even getting more out there conceptually as well, because the more I listen to this record, and something I didn't talk about that much in my review, is that he really does seem to be kind of like getting into a series of characters and, through those characters exploring feelings and notions of like megalomania and narcissism and control and power and influence, as well as futurism. It's not the most well put together record in the world in terms of like, exploring a concept, but there's a lot of crazy bangers on this thing. It is an absolutely exciting and visceral album to listen to. And Yeat is most definitely growing quite a bit artistically on this one, and big respect to him for doing it. A couple of other records I want to quickly shout out that are obviously like not big formal albums, but I think are still very much worth your time and attention. One from the wonderful dubstep and electronic music production legend Burial. He has a new EP. It's kind of EP length, but he has a new two-sided single out, Dreamfear being the A side, and it's just two lengthy, just massive, incredible cuts that will absolutely leave you entranced and floored. I swear to you, I think this is some of his best material in years. So absolutely do not miss out on this release. And also shout out to the Reverend Kristin Michael Hayter, whose recreated record of hymns last year saved. There is now like a little extras index edition of the project out now on Bandcamp that has a bunch of cuts on it and performances that did not make the album, many of which are just as incredible, if not more incredible, than the material that made it on that record. So do not miss out on this little kind of deluxe addition to the whole saved era. And that is going to be it for great albums, great projects that I want to recommend you guys. Again, it's been a very busy and fruitful first 2 months of 2024. A lot of great music out already, and just wanted to make sure that you're not missing out on anything that was sort of a highlight for me so far. Feel free to throw down in the comments anything that has been a favorite of the year so far for you. And over here next to my head, another video you can check out. That is going to be it for this one. Appreciate all of you guys for watching. Anthony Fantano, great albums forever.